Hello and welcome to ECE 108. My name is Matthew Harris and I will be your instructor for this course. Most of you probably know me from Math 115 last term, but just in case, I have a bachelor's degree in pure mathematics from the University of Evansville, a master's degree in pure mathematics from the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and my PhD in applied mathematics from the University of Waterloo. I graduated about a year and a half ago from UW, and since then I've been teaching various engineering and applied math courses here. So before we get into the syllabus and all that stuff, I'd like to apologize that we're starting online. I had no say-so in that, so yeah. And I know many of you did not want to have an online start, but here we are. We'll do the best of it. Hopefully we do convert back to in-person, and the way the course will run between being in-person and online will be very similar, but there'll be a few slight differences that I'll talk about now when I go through the syllabus. Okay, so for this course, again, I'm your instructor. Here's my email if you don't have it before. Here's all the TAs that you will run across during the course. You technically probably will never need their emails, but it's there just in case. And it's worth noting that Pat will be the TA that will be running the tutorials, so just keep that in mind. The rest of the TAs will primarily be marking and checking things on Piazza, so you'll probably run into them on Piazza if you post questions. Outside of that, it's just marking stuff, right? Okay, so course description. I'm not going to read all this out to you, but this is just taken from the course catalog. I'll talk about the course description in a bit more detail when I go over our rough outline, but basically ECE 108 is here to teach you kind of the fundamentals of logic and mathematics, which serves as an introduction to be able to understand a lot of the problems that arise in computer science and various other computational type fields. So like Math 115, we're going to be doing some pure mathematics, but unlike Math 115, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty a bit more, so to speak, where the focus will be on proving various things and how to make a formal proof. If it sounds scary, it's not as bad as it actually sounds from that description, and you'll see once we get into it. Okay, so website, all the announcement, weekly schedules, assignments, and other important information will be available on Learn, and I do expect that you visit Learn every day. Most of the announcements on Learn will also be emailed to you. In fact, all of them will be, unless I make a mistake. So you will have that backup if you have the email stuff all turned on. So let's briefly look at Learn real quick. Okay, so we're the one with the cute little pupper. You might have other pictures. So from here, there's a few things to note that are different from maybe some of the other courses you've seen. Here, I have this useful links widget that I built. So what type of things will go here? Well, we'll have a hot link to CrowdMark and Piazza. Realistically, you won't need that outside of the first week. Hopefully you'll bookmark stuff. Outside of that, we'll have a weekly schedule that will be posted as long as we are online. Once we go to in-person, I'll stop posting the weekly schedule because the purpose of the schedule is just to help you keep on track and to be able to know what you should be covering when, that type of thing. And then we'll have links to office hours. So our office hours will be through Teams. That's the link there. If you click this, it'll open up the Teams link where you could go to office hours. And tutorials. So this is just the various times for the tutorials, and these will be hosted on Teams. If you click there, it's the same link as the office hours link. But outside of here, we have our content tab. And within the content tab, we have our syllabus under course information. We have course notes under the course handout. Should just go ahead and download that. That will be the textbook that we're using for this course. The weekly schedules that I'll post here when we are online, and lectures slides that I'll post here when we're online or offline. Finally, the assignment with text files for those of you who want to typeset it up, and then practice problems that will correspond to the relative assignments. In addition to this, I'll put the tutorial slides there that we have for each week. Okay, so let's just go through the rest of this. Textbook, that's the textbook. It is available on Learn. You saw where it was posted. Lectures, here are our regular lecture times. And in addition to these regular lectures, we're going to have some makeup lectures. In particular, these are the 3 dates of our 3 makeup lectures. All of these, whether we're in person or online, will be in the form of online videos. So the reason for this is I have a schedule conflict where I can't actually meet in person for these. And I have really good videos for those topics that I will play first, And then when we go into the next class, well, with the exception of this one here, which everything's online, but when we go into the next class, we can then discuss those topics in a bit more detail. So it worked out nicely that these makeup lectures occur on topics that students find particularly difficult. So I'm just going to take advantage of this schedule conflict to do a little bit of flipped learning, where you first see the material in a video and then I can go through it in a bit more detail. So hopefully that'll make those topics a bit more clear. Okay, outside of that, getting help, we do have a Piazza. So if you click here or any of these pink links, it'll open up our Piazza page for this course. So here, standard Piazza stuff, you can post all your questions, all that good stuff. So I will be monitoring Piazza. In addition, the TAs will also be monitoring Piazza 1 hour a week. So between all of that, you should have pretty good coverage for getting your questions answered. Also, do not be afraid to answer each other's questions. One of the best ways to learn is to actually teach or explain things to other people. So definitely take advantage of that opportunity there. Okay, so office hours, currently I have these 2 office hours that will be available on the Teams group. And if there's sufficient demand, I'm not against adding more office hours. I'm just going to start with 2 office hours as the starting point. Okay, so tutorials, each one of you is assigned to a different tutorial group. Make sure you go to your tutorial group. The class is split up into 3 different groups to reduce the numbers so you can have a more personal experience. So if you had me for Math 115, these tutorials will be very similar to the tutorials that I gave there, other than they'll be a little less comprehensive and a little bit more, here's some particular examples we're going to look at and solve. So definitely 100% attend your tutorials. It's not required, but it will increase your grade, statistically speaking. Okay, while things are online, again, these tutorials will be hosted through Teams, so you should have the link for that, but worst case scenario, there is the link hosted here under the useful links widget. Okay, so next up, I have taught this class once before in an online setting, and all of those videos from my previous offering are available on this YouTube channel. So if you just open this up, you have the calculator. Here's all of the lectures from the previous offering, along with a couple review sessions. So you can watch these lectures at your own leisure. You cannot watch them. It's entirely up to you, but this is a resource that you can use if you decide that you want to do that. Do keep in mind that the structure of the course is a little bit different than previous offerings. So for instance, this lecture 6 might not correspond to lecture 6 within this offering. So do keep that in mind, and I will cannibalize some of these videos. So also keep that in mind if you do watch these videos and watch the video lectures, as long as we're online, there might be a little bit of copy pasting going on there. Spent a lot of time making the videos. I'm going to reuse portions of them. Okay, and again, you can subscribe to the channel and you'll get, if you do that and have your notifications set up properly, you'll get notifications whenever I post things there. So now, one more thing I want to mention before we go on with the syllabus. There are a few settings on YouTube that are quite useful that I explicitly add in the extra manual bit of data that's required to enable these properties. So I just want to let you know what they are. So here, if you go to click the description, you have all these little timestamps where if you want to jump to any particular part of the video, you can just click and it goes there. Also, it shows this little banner here with these little breaks, or if you click here, it gives you this little chapter list there. So do take advantage of this if you ever want to rewatch a particular video. Say if you're stuck on truth tables, for instance, you can just click here and ta-da, there's truth tables and I talk about it a bit. Okay, I also have captions enabled, so if English isn't your first language, or if I say something that's not 100% clear, you can always enable captions as a way of seeing stuff from there, and if you want to, you can translate them somehow. Yeah, you can translate them to whatever language you want. Okay, so that's available if you want to use it. Okay, so now let's go back into more syllabus stuff. So grading schedule. So the grading schedule worked down like this. We have 30% from written assignments. We will have 9 total, but we only take your top 8. In addition to this, the midterm and the final are worth 30 and 40% each. And there's this 1% bonus extra credit for attending certain sessions. I'll talk about those in a bit. Okay, so like Math 115, I'm also including this statement here where you have to get at least 35 out of 70 percentage points from the midterm and the final to pass ECE 108. I hope not to use it, but it's there for mostly cheating purposes. I might waive it, but formally speaking, it is there, so treat it as if it is a hard limit. Okay, so written assignments. Again, 9 written assignments. They're going to be numbered 0 through 8. Why this numbering scheme? Well, assignment 0 is going to be basically over none of the mathematical stuff, but instead will be over the syllabus, post on Piazza, just making sure you've connected with everything. So I chose to use a 0 naming scheme there. Okay, so for assignments, we're going to be using CrowdMark. Just there's a link to CrowdMark. You should know CrowdMark. And these assignments will be due at 9 p.m. EDT on the various dates below. The dates are all Wednesdays except for the Tuesday, which is actually the last day of class. So just keep that last one in mind. And you will be given the assignments normally at least 1 week before they're due, and solutions will be posted shortly after the submission deadline. So if you ever need a remark, you will contact me within 1 week of receiving the graded assignment. And also, before submitting a remark request, every time I release the marks, I will put a list of the most common errors that were made for each problem. Make sure you look at those before asking for a remark. Typically speaking, probably 50% or higher of the remarks that I receive are pointing out things that were on the list of the most common errors. So yeah, save yourself time and me some time and check that out first, and don't submit a remark request if your error is on that list. But do note, however, if you did make one of the most common errors and you don't understand why that is an error, feel free to ask me in office hours, or simply put a post on Piazza and then I can address it there, kind of maybe in more bulk where everyone can see the question. Okay, so again, you are encouraged to work together to solve assignment problems, but the solutions must be entirely your own, written without talking to anyone else. So, for instance, say if number 5 was asking to do something with the truth table, and you really don't understand how this aspect of a truth table works. Well, you could talk to your friends and colleagues of, hey, how does this thing here work? And then you could go, oh, that's how this bit works. And then on your own, you could put everything together. So yeah, try to avoid talking about particular questions. This more applies to the second half of the course than the first half, but some of the questions really, once you solve it, you're kind of done. So do try to avoid working on the particular question, but instead kind of identify the bits that you don't understand and then work together on that. That would be my suggestion there, just to try to avoid having a policy 47 violation. Okay, do not look up full or partial solutions on the internet or in any printed sources. Do not use Chegg, Course Hero, anything else. I have a internet spider that will check lots of websites for the various questions, so don't do that. Okay, so here's the schedule of the assignments. These are approximate posting dates. They could be posted earlier, they could be posted later by up to a day or two, but this is when I intend to post the assignments, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so exams. Midterm is currently scheduled for this date. Yeah, so the material that'll be covered, any information, all of that will be given later in the course. I'll give you a little midterm packet. Okay, and again, final will be scheduled by the registrar. Okay, so next up, bonus opportunity. So the Sexual Assault Support Center of Waterloo Region is delivering these sessions on male allyship. The Department of Engineering asked me if I'd be willing to offer a 1% bonus for people attending all 3 sessions. So I decided to take their offer there. So if you attend these 3 sessions, which are tentatively currently scheduled for these dates to be in person in E7 4043, well, at this time, like all the data's there, then you will receive 1% bonus mark for ECE 108. So they will give me the information on your attendance, so I don't keep track of any of that. But yeah, there's an opportunity for extra credit. If things change, I will let you know via Learn, via a post there, and also email tied with the post to Learn. Okay, so missed assignments. If you are ill and you are first to miss an exam or an assignment, you must immediately contact the first year office, okay? Tell them about your condition and get a verification of illness form. If you have a valid VIF, then I will exempt you from the assignments that occurred during the period of that VIF. So for instance, say if you have a VIF for assignment 4, I will exempt you from assignment 4, and now you'll have 8 assignments in total, and I'll only count the best 7 out of those 8. Okay? But in order for me to do that, I need to have the VIF. So make sure you do that immediately and get all that data. So if the midterm is missed with proper documentation, we'll normally assign a weight of 70% to your final, and if the final is missed, then you could be available for an INC if you have at least 30 out of 60 marks throughout the assignments and the midterm. Okay, so hopefully that should be straightforward. So COVID plan. So again, COVID is still a thing. The university might need to have classes canceled for a short period of time or longer than a week. And in that situation, the course will be moved back into an online format. So I really don't need to describe the online format here because you're experiencing what the online format will be, but you'll receive asynchronous online video lectures that'll be posted to YouTube, and the lecture slides will be posted to Learn. If we go back to an online format at any point, then I will start re-releasing those weekly schedules to keep you on pace for everything. So yeah. Okay, and next, in the event that an individual student needs to self-isolate, then I have the lecture slides that are available. You're more than welcome to ask any questions at office hours or on Piazza to supplement the lecture slides. And there are the old videos from the previous offering that you can watch. If a single student needs to self-isolate while things are still in person, I will not be creating online videos, so you won't have new videos to look at. So just make sure you keep an eye on all the Learn announcements and all that good stuff, and keep it on top of the lecture slides. And again, attend office hours. That's probably the best way to get information if you have to self-isolate. Okay, and again, in the event that in-person exams are canceled, we'll have online timed exams. So it'll be similar to Math 115, that type of a thing. Okay, so this little blurb is a blurb that the university asked me to add in. So basically, if things go really, really bad, the weights of the assignments and due dates and all that type of stuff may change. But I have designed my course, this whole setup, to be ran both online and in person for the exams and the assignments. So realistically for this course, I will not have to use this clause for anything, but it's there. You should read it. Yeah. Okay, so the kind of classic blurbs, there's our academic integrity blurb. Make sure you read it or are familiar with it. There's the grievance blurb, discipline blurb, don't cheat, appeals, all of that good stuff. And if you are a student with any type of disability, make sure you contact accessibility so that I can put in whatever appropriate accommodations you need. So for instance, for a test, make sure you contact them well ahead of time so that those services can be put in place. It's a little bit different doing it in person than online in terms of how quickly things can turn around. So make sure you have those on file. I don't want to be put in a situation where someone who needs extra time and should have extra time can't get the extra time purely because they didn't contact accessibility early enough. So contact early and make sure you get that taken care of. Okay, so now mental health. These off-campus resources are there fully available for you, and there's also on-campus resources where you can talk to various counselors. So make sure that if you are experiencing any difficulties with mental health, anxiety, depression, scheduling problems, any of that type of stuff, make sure you use these resources. They're quite good and can help you with scheduling and setting all that type of stuff up. Standard diversity statements and tentative course schedule. Okay, so before we get into the tentative course schedule, I want to go through a sample weekly schedule for while we are online to show you what those look like. Okay, so here I'm stealing this from a previous offering of ECE 108 just because it's already complete. So here, these are the 3 lectures that they would be that this class was expected to watch in week 2, if you click on any of these hot links, like if I click lecture 6, it will open up their lecture 6, like this. And if you click on the lecture slides, it will open up the lecture slides via Learn. So this is a very good resource for you just to log in, like, oh, what am I supposed to look on Monday? Monday, I do the first one. Our Tuesday lecture, I do the second one. And when is our other lecture? Our Thursday lecture, I watch this one. That type of a thing. It also tells you the course notes that you should be reading for that lecture. Okay. In addition to this, we will have practice problems. So this term, instead of breaking it down by week, I will break it down by assignment. So you won't get your first practice problems until around about when I release assignment 1. Okay, so you could click this, and again, it would go to your practice problems on Learn. Okay, so in addition to that, we have the playlist for ECE stuff, so just a hot link to all the videos if you ever wanted them. And I will post links to office hours where if you click this, it will open up via your browser and then via Teams, and it'll open up the thing, so it'll let you access there. Okay. Again, I'll put things for tutorials with hot links, and I will put the assignments that are due that week and the assignments that will be due in the future with hot links where applicable. So yeah, that's what a weekly schedule looks like. It's a very useful tool, I think, and hopefully it'll help you stay on track and keep yourself motivated to keep going. Make sure you open up the weekly schedule and follow it. Otherwise, especially in the early weeks of this course, as I'll talk about briefly, it's really easy to get behind and really hard to catch up. Okay, so this is our tentative course schedule. The last thing I'll talk about for the syllabus before I get into the actual lecture, which I'm stealing from my old lecture. Okay, so here it has the week of, like, the number of the week, so week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These 2 weeks aren't counted because we don't have any course things. Well, the midterm goes on. And then the following weeks. So for each week, I have the lecture topic. So this is roughly what we are going to cover. The pages that we will cover, again, roughly. An assignment that will be due that week. And it'll tell you what the tutorial will cover. So for instance, for week 1, we only have 1 lecture, the one you're watching now, hopefully. And it covers roughly these pages. There's no assignment and there's no tutorial. Next week, we cover this, which is roughly these pages, with no assignment and a tutorial for week 1. And then in week 3, we have assignment 0, which covers a little bit on week 1. Maybe I might cut that out. Topics on the syllabus. And then the tutorial for that week would cover the material previously here. Now, the reason why it's kind of set up this way with when materials covered and what materials we cover where is due to the kind of wonky tutorial schedule. So if we go back up, some people have tutorials on Fridays. So if I took assignment 2 that covered, say, week 3 and moved it to week 4, some people wouldn't have the opportunity to see the tutorial before the assignment was due. So this way, with this 2-week lag between when we cover the information on the assignment and when the assignment is due, everyone will see a tutorial and will have at least a weekend plus a couple 3 days to work on the assignment after their tutorial was done. Okay, without further ado. Now that we've gotten the administrative stuff out of the way, let's look at some new material. So we're going to start with the definition of a proposition or a statement. So a proposition or statement is a sentence that has a definite state of either being true or false. So the best way to understand this definition is to look at a few examples. So let's do that. So the following are propositions. If x is equal to 5, then x squared minus x is greater than or equal to 0. So this is a sentence, and clearly it's either true or false. So in this example, if I were to plug 5 into this statement here, I would get 5 squared minus 5, which is 20, is greater than 0. That is true, so this would be a true statement. So for our next example, the square root of 2 is rational. So this is a well-known fact that the square root of 2 is not rational. It's in fact irrational. We will prove that next week. So in this case, this will be a false statement. Again, it's a statement because I can determine whether or not it's true or false. Next, cats are mammals. Well, cats either are mammals or aren't mammals, and in this case, cats are mammals, so this would be a true statement. So if these are examples of propositions, what's an example of a non-proposition? Well, x squared minus x is greater than or equal to 0. In this case, I don't know what x is. So this sentence could be true if x is, say, 5, but I need to know what x is in order to ascertain whether this is true or false. Therefore, this is not a proposition. But instead, it's what we would call an open sentence. If I specify some restrictions to x, I could turn this into a proposition. So second, m minus 7 divided by 2m plus 4 is equal to 5. Well, I don't know what m is, so I don't know whether or not this is true or false, or even well-defined, right? If m's negative 2, I would divide by 0. So in this case, this would also be an open sentence because I could make it a proposition if I specified a restriction on m. Thirdly, let x be a natural number. So in this case, this isn't a statement. It's neither true or false. I'm just defining what x is an element of. So this is not a proposition, nor is it an open sentence. Open sentences denoted by capital P of x can become statements if we assigned a value to the variable. So in this course, we're not going to work much with open sentences, but they are common examples of non-propositions that can be made into a proposition if I assign a value to one or more variables. Okay, so a truth table. A truth table is a systematic and simple way to list all the possible truth values of a statement. So if I have a statement, it could be true or false, depending on the values of one or more variables within the statement. And a truth table allows me to build a systematic way of listing all of these possible truth values. So let's look at an example. Let P be the statement you were rickrolled yesterday, and let Q be the statement you had a nice day yesterday. So with these two statements, I can build what's called a compound statement, say R, and I can let this be the statement you got rickrolled yesterday and you had a nice day yesterday. So now I can ask the question, what are the possible values of P, Q, and R? So the systematic way to do this is a truth table. So let's do this. If we were to break down R, we can notice that R is simply the same thing as saying P and Q. We got rickrolled yesterday and we had a nice day yesterday. So now if I were to build the truth table of all the possible values of P, Q, and R, how would I do this? Well, I'd first write a table with P, Q, and R at the top index. And now I need to go through all the possible values of P and Q and use them to determine all the possible values of R. So since both P and Q can both be either true or false, I will have 2 squared. So the 2 part is coming from the option of true and false, and the squared part is coming from the fact that I have 2 values, P and Q, but I will have 2 squared entries in this table to represent all the possible values of P and Q. So first I can say what if P is true and Q is also true. So if I was rickrolled yesterday and I had a nice day yesterday, if both of these are true, then obviously I got rickrolled yesterday and had a nice day yesterday. So if P is true, Q is true, then R would be true. Next, we could say have P be true, have Q be false, and then what would R be? Well, if P is true and Q is false, that means I was rickrolled yesterday, but I did not have a nice day. Therefore, the statement you got rickrolled yesterday and had a nice day yesterday would be false. So at this point, we have gone through all of the possibilities of P being true. Now let's look at the possibilities of P being false. Well, if P is false, then either Q is true or false. And in both cases, since I was not rickrolled yesterday, then the statement you got rickrolled yesterday and had a nice day yesterday would be false. So the next 2 entries will be false, true, false, and false, false, true. So here you can see this table contains the possible combinations of truth values of P and Q, and therefore contains all the possible values for R. So in the next lecture, we'll further get into the details of this AND operation. But for now, this is the basic idea of a truth table. It's just a systematic way of writing the various truth values. So now, one more definition. In the above, P and Q are called statement variables of the truth table, and we refer to P and Q as statement variables because the truth value of R is dependent on the truth values of P and Q. So in some sense, they are the variables of the compound statement. So now let's examine some logical connectives. So first we're going to define parenthesization. So parenthesization is the use of parentheses to force precedence in order to make a statement unambiguous. So for an example, recall how PEDMOS is used to make the order of operations in standard arithmetic unambiguous. Well, in formal logic, parentheses serve the same type of purpose. So let's look at the truth table for the parentheses operator applied to some proposition P. So any given proposition P can either be true or false. Well, if P is true, then parentheses P will also be true. And further, if P is false, then parentheses P will also be false. Thus, our use of parentheses does not change the truth value of a statement. It just allows us to get rid of the ambiguity that could exist for compound statements. So now let's look at negation. So the negation of a statement P, denoted by this not P, is the statement asserting the opposite truth to P. So that's to say, not P is false when P is true, and not P is true when P is false. So let's give a couple examples of how to negate statements. So the negation of the statement, if x is equal to 5, then x squared minus x is greater than or equal to 0. What do you think that would be? So pause the video for a second and think of how you would possibly negate this statement. Okay, so the negation of this would be if x is equal to 5, then x squared minus x is less than 0. So let's go through another example. What is the negation of the square root of 2 is rational? So again, pause the video and think of what you believe the negation would be. So here, the negation of this statement will simply be that the square root of 2 is not rational, or the square root of 2 is irrational. So finally, the statement cats are not mammals, what would the negation of this be? Well, simply cats are not mammals. Okay, so finally, the truth table for the negation operator will simply be this truth table here. So if P is true, not P is false, and if P is false, not P is true. So now for this lecture, make sure you read pages 5 through 11 in the text. And if you want to, you can read the logical connectives on page 12 and 13. In our next lecture, we will continue with our discussion of logical connectives by introducing some more logical operators. And then we will demonstrate how you can prove statements via a logical table.